What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about every Battle Royale player's least favorite thing, and that is going to be third parties. If you've been playing any Battle Royale game for any length of time, you've definitely had games that you lose strictly because you win a fight and then you immediately get attacked by somebody else, or you just get attacked by somebody else while you're fighting a player already. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks to reduce how much you're getting third-partied and to deal with it better, because unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. With BRs, it's just one big free-for-all, and third parties are always going to be an aspect of the game. But you can reduce how much you run into that problem or deal with it better in some situations. If you guys do find this video helpful or informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and comment down below what your second least favorite thing about the game is. Like, I feel like third parties are most people's most annoying aspect of the game. What is the next most annoying aspect of the game? Let me know that in the comments down below. I'm actually really interested to see what you guys come up with in the comments for this one. And this video will be helpful for zero build players and build mode players. Zero build mode, I think it is way harder to deal with third parties, and getting third partied is way more of like a death sentence than it is in build mode, because in build mode you can obviously build and protect yourself and your game just isn't over because somebody shot you in the back or got cut diming on you. But in zero build, it's probably over if you get shot in the back. And as I already said, there's nothing you could do to negate this completely aside from just never fighting anybody, I guess, but who wants to do that? The first thing you really want to do is be mindful of where you're fighting and how long you're fighting and when in the game you're fighting. There's certain areas in the game that are pretty much just always hot zones. If you think of like the lake in the center of the map, that area is always going to have people going through it. There's so many different POIs that kind of flow into that area, and there's a lot of mobility in that area, like launch pads, which makes it to where people just in that area can get around really quickly. The field that's kind of in between Coney, the lake, and Sanctuary, I feel like that place is always really hot and contested. Tilted can be that way sometimes. And then also, depending on what zone does, whichever area has most POIs flow into it to get to zone is going to be the hot part, or an area that is always getting third partied. So if you have a circle that's in the bottom left of zone, that area, or if you have a zone that's in the bottom left of the map, that area kind of in between Greasy and Tilted Towers, where most people would have to rotate in from, like just the rest of the map flows through that direction to get to zone, that's going to be really contested. And that goes for every zone, you know? If you have a zone that's top left corner, probably the area around Logjam, Shifty, the lake area, that is going to be really contested because the rest of the map has to go through there to get to zone. If you have a zone that's bottom right or in the desert, that little gas station that's in the right corner is probably going to be pretty contested, the one that's like in between Sanctuary, Joneses, and Rocky Reels. And then top right, Coney will be pretty contested, and then the little garden center outside will probably be pretty contested. These areas where most of the map has to flow through to get to zone is pretty much always going to be contested if you have a zone that's like that. So you need to keep that in mind when you're fighting in those areas or rotating through those areas. If the rest of the map is going to have to rotate through the spot you're in to get to zone, it is incredibly likely that you're going to get third partied, and you probably don't want to exist there very long, or you don't want to fight there for very long. And then same goes with those just naturally hot areas like that, the lake center, the field outside of Coney. These areas are always hot, so you have to be really careful when you're fighting in these areas or when you're traversing in these areas. If you find yourself in spots like this, always getting third partied, and you're like, God, I just get unlucky every game, it's really not luck. It's because you're in bad areas at bad times. So when it comes to zone, you can rotate around the far side using like vehicles or animals, or just rotate earlier. That way you can avoid that really congested layer of zone and have a much easier and safer game. It can be fun sometimes to exist in that like congested area, and that is a way that you can get a lot of kills, but that is a risk that you kind of take knowingly. You know, if you're in that area and you're trying to get a lot of kills, it can work out, but it can also get you third partied. So just keep that in mind, and it really depends what you're doing. And when it comes to fighting, how long you're fighting can have a huge impact on whether or not you get third partied. If you play every fight super passively and you never try to actually end the fight, you just play incredibly passive and you just repetitively like hide and don't poke out of cover, you're probably going to get third partied. Whenever I'm fighting somebody, I try to kill them as fast as possible. Obviously, there's a balancing act to this. If you just run straight at people, you're probably going to die. But I try to end every fight as fast as possible. That way I can not get third partied, and I can move on to the next person. The longer you're fighting, the more likely it is that somebody else will hear shots in that area or see shots on their compass and come to like try to third party you. So keep that in mind. Everybody knows about third parties. The longer you fight, the more likely it is you get third partied. And you have to take into account when in the game you are as well. End game, it's really likely you'll get third partied. So many players play in game just to do literally nothing but third party. This is like true in solos, but I feel like it's true for every game mode. So unfortunately, especially in the zero build game mode, you get a lot of end games where just the person who acts last is going to come out on top. So like if you and two others and you start fighting one of the guys, the person that isn't involved in that fight is just going to third party and win probably. And then the same goes for you. If the other two are fighting, then you can just position yourself to third party and win. So in-game really becomes about just like getting the best spot in zone that you can without exposing too much and without like actually getting in fights yourself. It is pretty irritating, and a lot of times will just come down to luck or just like getting really good timing. But really the only thing you can do is end your fights quickly, and mobility is really clutch for dealing with third parties. Not only does it help you end fights faster, because if you get good opening AUG tags on somebody, like let's say you tag somebody for 150. That's their overshield plus all of their normal shield. Now they only have 100 white health and they haven't hit you at all, and they go behind a tree to heal. If you just like start auging the tree or wait for them to peek again, they're going to get heals off, and that fight is going to last for way longer than if you shockwave onto them after getting your initial tags and just end that fight there. So mobility is really good for ending fights faster, and that can be shockwaves, grappler, a car, a rift to go, the boar, whatever it is. Using some sort of mobility to end your fights faster once you have an advantage can really play a part in getting third-partied less, because you're going to end your fights faster. This mobility can also be really good at dealing with third parties, because let's make up another scenario. You just got a kill and now somebody's shooting at you and they have a good line of sight on you. You could just shockwave out of there, and that is going to save your game. You can grapple out of there, and that might be able to save your game. You can shockwave to a position of advantage. You can shockwave the player away from you if they're like hella close to you. You can grapple to a position advantage. You could get in a car and drive away. Having some sort of mobility is so clutch for so many reasons, and that's why I talk about it pretty much every video I make when it comes to zero build. Just the amount of things you can do with mobility, get to spots that you shouldn't be able to get to, or that would be harder to get to. You can get away from fights. You can end fights faster. Like, mobility is very important in Fortnite. I think a lot of newer players don't put enough emphasis on mobility, and I feel like I kind of did this in the past as well when I wasn't as experienced with the game. But mobility is really good at getting you out of bad situations. It's good at ending fights faster, so it's like perfect for dealing with third parties. The next thing you want to do is not get too tunnel visioned on somebody when you're fighting. This is hard to do for sure. Like, you have to focus on that fight and you want to win that fight. But if you're trading AUG shots with somebody and you're reloading your AUG, maybe kind of like look around while you're reloading and get like a grasp of your surroundings, because I feel like just people being too tunnel visioned while fighting leads to them getting third partied a lot, especially in zero build, because you're oftentimes just in open areas shooting at somebody. And while you're shooting at somebody, somebody else is setting up to kill you. And just constantly trying to not get too tunnel visioned onto the person you're fighting, and kind of being aware of your surroundings is really helpful. As well as just if you play the game a lot, I feel like you kind of know how things flow, and you kind of know where to expect people to be coming from. This is kind of hard this season because the new reality saplings really changes things up and really like makes it to where anybody can land anywhere and get a good amount of loot. It makes anywhere on the map a viable landing spot if you have a high rarity reality sapling. But playing the game a lot and being aware of where players typically are and where players typically come from can help you kind of increase your awareness in fights and know where you are likely to get third-partied from, as well as just using audio to your advantage. I feel like this is something I do quite well, and this is something I talk about on stream. I'll be fighting one player, and then I'll just randomly be like, yeah, there's a guy behind me too that's coming. And chat will be like, how did you know that? And it's because audio. These headsets are really good. There is a setting for visual audio in the game that is really helpful, and it's really overpowered, and this will definitely decrease your likelihood of getting third-partied. You just go into the sound options, and it's called visual audio or visual sound effects, I think. You turn that on, and it puts little indicators on your screen that indicate to you where certain players are or what certain things are being done. There's like vehicles, animals, shooting, footsteps. All of those things are laid out to you on your screen to try to give you an advantage, and it's a huge increase to your awareness. I just don't personally like using it because I kind of get like sensory overload, and I feel like it's too distracting for me, and I'm already really good at using sound to my advantage. I feel like I play with a lot of people who have visual sound effects on, and my awareness of where people are in a fight or where people are while we're fighting is typically as good or better than theirs. So it's a good setting, but I feel like I'm just as good at just hearing. But if you are someone who feels like your awareness isn't as good as you would like it to be, turning on visual sound effects can help you a lot, and that will decrease your likelihood of getting third-partied, because that's basically what it comes down to. Someone is able to third-party you because you were unaware of their existence, and they were rarely aware of yours, so they set up a way in which they could punish that. So yeah, getting third partied or dealing with third parties, just reduce how much you are making noise or how often you're fighting, how long you're fighting. Where you are fighting and the areas you're traveling through will have a huge impact on whether or not you get third partied. And having mobility items will be able to help you end fights faster as well as get out of those bad situations if you do get in them. So that's really clutch. And just increase your awareness. You could do this by just playing the game a bunch. Unfortunately, there's nothing I could tell you that's just going to like make you more familiar with how the game typically plays out. That's just something you have to kind of play and feel for yourself. But the more you do that, the better awareness you will get. I feel like in visual audio or just using sound to your advantage can also be a huge benefit when it comes to knowing where people are. If you guys did find this video helpful or informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more. Comment down below, like I said before, what annoys you most if it wasn't getting third partied, or if getting third partied is the most annoying thing in Fortnite to you. Tell me what your second most annoying thing was. I'm actually really interested to see what you guys come up with for that comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.